So I've talked a little bit already in some of these videos about certain guys that are really tough to place on this list, and one of the guys that was absolutely tough to place on this list is a guy who just doesn't have a lot of playing time, and that's Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, he hasn't started a ton of games so far in his career, but when he has started games, he's looked very good, so he's kind of a tough guy to place on this list. In fact, the last guy I talked about, Lamar Jackson, was kind of in a similar boat, where he didn't have a lot of playing time either, so it's kind of tough to place these guys exactly. But, you know, if my criteria is which guy would I rather have in the 2019 season, I think Jimmy Garoppolo fits right around here, around the 20 spot. There's a lot of things this guy does really well, one of which is his quick release, which I've talked about a lot, and this play could be an example of that, where first thing you'll notice is that there's one-on-one coverage on top half of the screen, and very clearly so. And what I mean by one-on-one coverage isn't that it's man coverage, I just mean that there's only going to be one defender who's high up on the top half of the screen who could make a play on that receiver. And since that receiver in the area is going to be running a slant route to the middle of the screen, this is actually a pretty solid situation for San Francisco. Really, the only guy you have to be too weary of would be that Minnesota Vikings linebacker who's right over there, because definitely he could get in the way here. I mean, just thinking about it on paper, if he stays right where he's at, and that San Francisco 49ers player does run the route that he could run to, then Garoppolo couldn't really make that throw, since there would be, you know, a defender right in front of his intended target, so he'd have to wait on that throw. However, one thing worth noting is in this goal line situation, Minnesota is definitely going to be a little bit weary of a potential run, and not just that, but they have another receiver running straight over the middle. So that linebacker is actually going to follow the San Francisco 49ers tight end who's running over the middle of the screen. This is good news for San Francisco, because as you see, now the guy that Garoppolo would want to hit is going to be open. But take a look at Garoppolo. It's a little bit tough to see here, but his arms aren't moved. He hasn't gotten ready to be in a throwing position at all here, and that's what I like about Garoppolo, is he kind of can get the ball off just in a split second. Because for all he knows, that linebacker could drop back over closer to the top half of the screen, and this route would not be a good route to throw to, and maybe he'd have to try to find another one. But since the linebacker did go closer to the bottom half of the screen, Garoppolo can simply just wait, and with his quick release, the second he sees that he has a man open, he can hit him. Those are the kind of things that Garoppolo brings to the table, but not a lot of other guys bring to the table. You know, Nick Foles is another guy I always talk about with his quick release. Even Tom Brady, that's a very Tom Brady-like play. Honestly, there definitely are a lot of comparisons between Garoppolo and Brady, not just the fact that they were both drafted not in the first round by Bill Belichick. They have quite a decent amount of comparisons. But another one of those comparisons is footwork. And you know, that's kind of one of the things that I always feel doesn't get brought up enough with Brady, is Brady is just a master in the pocket of just using his footwork to make sure that he evades pressure. And Garoppolo is not bad himself. Like, one thing you're going to see right here is that Minnesota Vikings edge rusher on the bottom half of the screen is going to do a very good job of winning his own one-on-one matchup. I mean, as you see, he pushes the San Francisco 49ers left tackle very close to Garoppolo, and this isn't a great situation for Garoppolo at this point. I mean, there's a defender just a couple feet away from you, not to mention it's on your blind side, so you can't really see what's going on. But he is going to either hear somebody communicate, hear the crowd noise and realize somebody's close, or just see it in his peripherals. But whatever the reason is, he does actually see what's going on and moves around to the outside of the pocket and is able to evade this pressure. So that's some good work right there, but this play is now basically over. I mean, he did a good job of evading the pressure, but now he's going down to the bottom half of the screen, which of course is a much more difficult throw if you're a right-handed quarterback running to your left than running to your right. With the exception of someone like Aaron Rodgers, who can seemingly make any off-balance throw look easy, but you know, for the most part, this is definitely not a great situation for a quarterback, not to mention, as you see on the screen with those three circles, none of his receivers are open. Actually, one's kind of open, but he's out of bounds, so that wouldn't really do too much. So really, at this point for Garoppolo, I mean, you should just throw it away. However, he's going to still just kind of throw it up, and there was actually a chance of that one getting intercepted. It wasn't, but that was kind of just a head-scratching decision by Garoppolo of throwing it anywhere close to inbounds at that point. You're outside of the pocket, throw it into the upper deck for all you care. I mean, just get rid of the ball. That's all you have to do. As long as it goes past the line of scrimmage, you're fine. It's possible he tried to throw it out of bounds and kind of just missed the throw and sort of throw it kind of close to inbounds. I'm assuming that's what happened. I don't really know. I would actually suspect that he thought that a 49er was going to be running up to the top half of the screen and he was going to try to hit him, but it was a scramble drill and he kind of just misjudged what was actually happening there. That's what I would think probably happened, but either way, you can't be doing that, Garoppolo. So I think that play shows some good and some bad. You know, good footwork, but also a bad decision there. That's one you don't want to make. I could say, well, hey, he's still young. It's a young player mistake. He's actually 27 at this point. This is kind of when you have to not be making those young player mistakes. I know he hasn't played in a ton of games, but I don't really care that much. You've still been in the league. You've still been practicing. You've still been watching tape. You should still know to not make this kind of mistake. He made a mistake. I'm not going to be too harsh on him. Everyone makes mistakes. mistakes, but it is a mistake, we have to say that. But for every mistake he makes just another great play, and this one is a very good play. It's going to be a cover one blitz, and to have a receiver running that route right there. So this should be an easy pickup right now. This is the best route to run against the cover one blitz, because it's over the middle, which is a good angle for a quarterback to try to hit, and there's no one in the middle of the field who's playing zone, so all that receiver has to do is win his one-on-one matchup, and this could be an easy completion, and potentially even an easy first down. But what I like about this is look at how quickly Garoppolo reads what's going on. So now this receiver is cutting, and this is a somewhat good situation for San Francisco, but looking at Garoppolo, he's already throwing the ball. He looked up, said, oh, okay, cover one blitz, I know where I'm throwing it to, I'm throwing it now. No hesitation, makes the correct decision, and it is able to be a completion for a first down. It's him making throws like that gives San Francisco 49ers fans so much excitement when going into this next season with Garoppolo hopefully going to be playing a full season. Even though he hasn't played a ton of games, he definitely has looked very promising in those games, and he has made some very good throws and some very good reads. I do think that, if I'm being honest, he's almost like a kid that was homeschooled. You know how some kids that are homeschooled are completely fine, but then there's some who are still kind of cool, but you can tell they didn't really have the social interactions as a kid, so when they're in a social setting sometimes it can be a little bit awkward. Well, that's kind of what Garoppolo was like a little bit. He's pretty good, when you meet him you still think he's pretty cool, but every now and then he will have just a little awkward moment like that one I showed you a couple plays ago. And just to be clear, I'm not saying if you were homeschooled then that makes you awkward. It's just an analogy, it's just a kind of a joke. With how awkward I can be in social settings, I'm the last person that would call somebody else awkward. So anyways, moving on here. That's kind of actually the blessing and the curse of Garoppolo in a lot of ways, is he makes these decisions very quickly, but every now and then it can come back to bite him. I would say more often than not it actually is a benefit, but in a play like this it won't be, where as you can see on the top half of the screen, it is going to be man coverage, and that receiver is going to be running a curl route right over there. Of course, a curl route is a great way to beat man coverage, because the receiver has to go forward, and then therefore the defensive back is going forward as well, and when the receiver stops, oftentimes the momentum of the defensive back will continue going forward, and then the receiver can get open and make the catch. It's a good situation, but also what's very important is it has to be timed perfectly, and also the defensive back can't realize that it's going to be a curl route. So for example, as of right now, the receiver is about to cut, and Garoppolo is already throwing this football, because he has to time it exactly right. In a lot of plays, there's a yin and a yang to them, and the bad part of this play is the fact that he has to make his decision before he realizes whether it's going to actually be open or not, because if you make your decision after the guy is open, well then it would be too late. If a receiver gained 2 yards of separation and then the quarterback made the throw, well that would give the defensive back plenty of time to run back and get into play. You have to time it perfectly. But of course the problem is, if you miss the throw like Garoppolo does here, it can easily lead to a pick six. It could be argued that maybe they weren't on the same page and thought that it was supposed to be a different route, but I actually don't think that's the case at all, because Garoppolo threw that one at the same timing that you would want from when the receiver also cut, so I think he just missed the throw. It's the kind of thing that happens all the time. I would say those are, maybe they're not the most common pick sixes, but it seems like those are the most common pick sixes. I would definitely say that those are probably the most common plays that result in pick sixes, not counting when a defensive back just breaks a bunch of tackles or gets around a bunch of tackles. Curl routes towards the sideline can be a very dangerous throw if you miss the throw. You have to make sure that you hit your throw. Garoppolo didn't there, and that's what led to an interception. Another example of what I'm talking about will be something like this, where once again it is going to be man coverage, as that Ram is in charge of covering that 49er, and that's going to be the route that his receiver is going to be running. So once this ball is snapped and the play develops, it's going to actually be very similar to that last play I showed you, where basically Garoppolo has kind of a split second where he has to make this decision of if he wants to make the throw or not. And so really, as of right now, is when Garoppolo has to throw the ball. He's already thrown the ball at this point, but if you look, the receiver isn't really open here. But again, it's kind of hard to tell, because by the time Garoppolo has to make a decision, you can't really tell how open the receiver is going to be. That's what kind of makes it a tough play. And while that last play would still have worked had Garoppolo just made a good throw, this play, even if Garoppolo made a perfect throw, his throw actually wasn't the problem here. It was more so just the decision, and it's a bad one as it ends up getting picked off. It's those kind of plays that can result in Garoppolo sort of getting into trouble a little bit. If he makes some of these throws at a bad time, that's what can really result in him getting interceptions like that one. That can be the way that Garoppolo can run into trouble from time to time, but I also think it's worth mentioning that San Francisco didn't exactly have the best receiving core last year. He definitely kind of was without certain weapons. They've made some improvements this year, and I do think that will help him. So one thing I want to talk about as well is not just how he did in San Francisco, but also how he did in New England. I mean, this guy has played in 2 different systems, and so that can be a great way of seeing how good a player is if they can both play in several different systems, even if they are both pretty good systems. So one play that would definitely stand out from that New England experience would be one like this, where it's going to be a cover one hole, so it's man coverage, which means that a Patriot has to win their one-on-one matchup. However, before there's even a chance of a Patriot trying to win their one-on-one matchup, something else is going to happen, where it's going to be that edge rusher right there who's rushing over to try to get to Garoppolo. So at this point, without a doubt, nobody is open. There's just not going to be a guy open this quick into the play. So now this is the bad news for Garoppolo. He has to figure out a way to give himself some more time. That's what he has to do here. So one thing you just naturally do if there is an edge rusher winning a one-on-one matchup pretty well is just move up in the pocket. However, once he does that, now there's another problem developing, and it's that there's going to be an interior lineman now doing a very good job of trying to create some pressure. So Garoppolo's in trouble. And granted, he does kind of have a receiver open. However, the problem is that receiver is directly behind a Miami player. So he's going to have to try to get to that receiver while not throwing it straight to him, because that would just be an interception. And he's under pressure. So this is a very tough play for Garoppolo to pull off. But notice how he is able to throw it just past that Miami linebacker, but still where the Patriots receiver can get it while under pressure, and it results in a touchdown. I mean, that's an escape act if I've ever seen one. That's Houdini at his finest, really. I mean, that's just an incredible play. That play had no business actually going for positive yards, let alone a touchdown, but that's what happened, largely because Garoppolo just knew what he had to do and knew his pocket presence, knew what he was supposed to be doing in that play, and also knew a receiver he could try to hit it to. And of course, then he has the talent to, while under pressure, still being able to make a good throw, resulting in a touchdown. That's not the Patriot system. That's a play where the Patriot system didn't work. The play on paper didn't work out the way it was supposed to, but he still found a way to make it work. There was also this play where really the key route you're going to take a look at will be that route right there. That's the route that Garoppolo is going to try to throw to. However, something is going to happen once this play starts. It is going to take a little bit of time for it to develop. The route has to go. As of right now, his receiver is getting ready to be open. However, there's another problem going on. And it's going to be that Miami player right there who's doing a very good job of kind of getting close to Garoppolo. So again, similar to last time, a little bit different because now Garoppolo will have someone open, but he just has to give himself an extra second to make sure that he can hit the receiver that he wants to hit on this play. But watch how he is able to just calmly step up in the pocket and make the throw at the perfect time for it to be a completion. I mean, that's just exactly when you want to do it. He did take a hit from an interior lineman, but you'll take a hit for a big completion any day of the week. So those are a couple plays of him sort of making sure that he can get the most out of the plays that were already on paper. But let's show a play where he can just execute a play that's on paper, and it's going to be this one, where it's a cover 3 zone, and it's pretty simple how it's going to work. First things first, the Patriots receiver on the top half of the screen is going to kind of run out, and not really run out too quickly. He's going to kind of stop right when he starts to run out, but then he is going to run a go route on the sideline. The purpose of this is to try to get the Miami Dolphin, who's in charge of covering the corner of the end zone on the top half of the screen, to play as close to the top half of the screen as possible and to play as far to the right side of the screen as possible. Because then New England is going to send a tight end right over there, and assuming that this play works out and everyone does their job, this can actually result in a wide open touchdown necessarily. And as you see, that Patriot is going to get wide open. The Dolphin who's chasing him actually isn't even supposed to be playing deep at all. He's supposed to be playing rather shallow. However, he just realized what's going on and is going to desperately try to get back into this play. So Garoppolo has a wide open man, but notice how he does make a great throw and it results in a touchdown. I mean, that's just good football by Garoppolo and the entire Patriots offense. So yeah, that's why I have him as a top 20 quarterback in my opinion. I think this guy is definitely a very solid player. One of the big reasons I can't have him much higher is as simple as just small sample size. He just hasn't played in that many games, so who knows, maybe it has been a fluke, although I don't believe it is. I mean, he only officially has 10 starts, although it is worth mentioning that his teams are actually 8-2 in those starts, which is pretty impressive. And he's 6-2 with the 49ers. I mean, granted, quarterback wins are totally a misleading stat. I don't like to use that, but it is worth mentioning when there is something notable like it is with Jimmy Garoppolo, even if it's not really a great stat you would want to use in an argument. The better stat you'd probably want to use is that he has a career yards per attempt of 8.2, which is definitely very good. And with a career passer rating, again, passer rating not a great start, but his career passer rating is 97.3. So this guy can definitely play. He's not just one of those guys that wins a few games so everyone thinks he's good. He's actually good. He does have a few problems, specifically with those quick decisions sometimes coming back to bite him, but as a whole, he does pretty much everything well. He fits into that Kyle Shanahan offense very well, and that's why I have him at number 20. And in fact, there's actually only one other quarterback I have on this list who's played less than 16 games, and he's just one spot higher than Jimmy Garoppolo, who you'll find out about in maybe tomorrow, maybe in a couple of days. I'm not exactly sure when that will come out. But that's why I have Jimmy G where I have him, and as always, thanks for watching.